Hey guys, it's Dr. Abraham. Welcome to a Simple Aesthetics podcast. We're here with Marla today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for joining us. Today we're talking about semaglutide, Ozempic, Mounjaro, and how they can affect the face, and what kind of treatments we can do to counteract any volume loss that can happen in the face, any laxity that can happen in the face. It's a very interesting topic. A lot of people are asking about Ozempic, some of these medications, some of these treatments, and how it can affect them aesthetically. So thank you guys for joining us. And Mounjaro, semaglutide, Ozempic, and because they're very popular medications right now, but we're gonna talk about if they can affect our face in terms of like volume loss in the face and loss of elasticity, and what are some treatment options, what are some things that we can do to just kind of help maintain our facial structure.
Yeah, it has been a journey on semaglutide and on, this weight loss journey to get to the point where I'm at now. So we have a ton of patients that come in that are asking for semaglutide, that have been on it for the past couple of years since it's gained a lot of popularity, semaglutide and also trizipatide as well. And now that we've seen clients on this journey, we're starting to see that facial fat loss, especially in cheek area, temple area, and definitely down in kind of the jowl area where they're seeing some more laxity. What are some options that they have that they can start on, maybe depending on their age, but also just on their weight loss journey?
Yeah, and those are kind of great points that you mentioned. So it can be a little different with different people depending on how their face has changed. But when we do lose fat quickly, and honestly, it doesn't even have to be because you're on semaglutide or tirzepatide or Wegovy, Mounjaro, Ozempic, and all that stuff. Generally speaking, a lot of time if people lose fat quickly, they're going to lose it from their whole body, and so which is great in terms of like we want to a lot of time lose some of that visceral fat like around the abdomen. But you can also lose fat in the face, and sometimes aesthetically, we can see the volume loss. And as you mentioned, it could be in areas like the temples, it could be under the eyes, it could be in the cheeks. And so if there's that volume loss, there are ways to replenish that volume in the face. And things like fillers can be a great option, but there are other options, including things like Sculptra or Radias, which are more collagen, stimulators, biostimulants. But also sometimes there's that loss of elasticity.
Yes.
And so doing things to tighten the skin can also be beneficial in some of these patients.
Yeah, like some different laser treatments like CO2, microneedling can really help kind of boost that collagen production and kind of get them, back to a place that maybe they weren't before because maybe they just had a fuller face from, being a heavier weight in general, but really kind of helping to shape and contour the new face that they're experiencing now.
And it often can be a combination of all of these different things. Sometimes there's one problem that's kind of more dominant in the face. So like it's maybe we see it right for one person, it's really volume loss in one area that's more pronounced. The kind of elasticity issues isn't as big of a deal versus a different patient. It could be more, their volume looks good, but they're just kind of feeling that, elasticity issue. And so we might approach it differently. But for a lot of people, doing some kind of combination can be the way to go. So doing, some fillers or some biostimulant to combine that with something for skin tightening. You've mentioned the CO2 laser, which I love. There's also treatments like microneedling or radiofrequency, or sometimes a radiofrequency microneedling combination, which can also help with the tightness of the skin, the texture of the skin. So obviously we're going to take a look at each patient individually, but those are the most common things that we see.
Yeah, absolutely. I just know for myself, since being on semaglutide for the past couple of years, I've noticed a lot of, facial fat loss here, and the laxity really kind of happening in the jawline. And, with my age kind of coming up to 40, starting on a biostimulator would be really helpful, right? Is there like a rule of thumb with that, or a good time to start on a biostimulator?
Well, generally speaking, the earlier you start, the better. I mean, obviously earlier we're talking relatively speaking here, right? So
kind of like a mid-30s-ish would be?
yeah, that could be a good number for a lot of people. There's a lot of factors like genetics and things like that. Some people might need to start earlier. Some people can extend that time a little bit. But usually, yeah, I mean, definitely in your 30s, you want to at least get that assessment, kind of see where your face stands, and start considering these treatments. And sometimes, even earlier, it's good to get the assessment. Doesn't mean that you have to get started with the treatments right away. But a lot of times, especially when you're talking about treatments that are not very invasive, you don't want to wait until it's more advanced, because there's only so much you can do without having to go for surgery or using a knife. So a lot of times, if you want to kind of maintain things, if you want to keep your skin texture like nice and glowing and bright, you do want to start earlier than later.
Yeah, it's definitely good to be proactive with it instead of trying to play catch up afterwards. And same thing with Botox or anything else in that category. It's good, like maybe when we have patients that come in that are just wanting to talk about semaglutide or tirzepatide, we're actually talking about biostimulators in the same consultation and just how they pair hand in hand instead of waiting until they see it in their face and then having to jump on that train after.
Yeah, it's always great to be aware, and the earlier you know, the better. That's not a reason not to go on semaglutide or Ozempic or Wegovy if you need to go on it, obviously. But if you are aware of these things, and sometimes there are certain things you want to do, meanwhile, as you're on it, you want to keep an eye on it. So it's always better to be prepared. Even as you're going through that journey of semaglutide or Wegovy or Mounjaro, kind of making sure you're getting enough protein to also kind of like making sure you're losing more of the fat, and you're exercising, you're keeping that lean mass, the muscle mass. I think is very important, very useful. So these are things that you want to be considering while you are taking the treatment, but also at the same time, again, like considering how your face might be changing, and just be ready for it and kind of having a plan. Doesn't mean it's good to talk about it from the beginning. Doesn't mean that you have to start treatment from the beginning. It's definitely good to talk about it from the beginning, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and how long people are actually going to be on the medication. I think sometimes people think that they're just going to hop on, maybe lose 10 to 15 pounds, maybe even 20, and then in 3 months they're going to be off. But what we're seeing with patients is that they're on it longer term because we want them to be maintaining that goal weight for longer before they start to maybe titrate off of it. And in that time is a good time to be starting those, biostimulators and
yeah, for sure. It's that's kind of where that individualized approach is very, very important, because some people are on it for a short period of time. Some people are on it for a much longer period of time. Some people are losing weight a lot quicker than other people. So you want to take all that into consideration. And some treatments, it might make sense to kind of wait toward the end of that treatment journey, whereas there are other treatments, like let's say RF microneedling, where it can make a lot of sense to start earlier while you are doing, the medications for weight loss, especially if you're on it long term. It can make sense to also be doing something at the same time, like a CO2 laser or RF microneedling, to help kind of keep the collagen, keep the texture of the skin, so that you're not, at the end of your journey, you're very happy that you lost the weight, but now you're feeling a little bit, more conscious about how your face looks, because you've also lost elasticity. But if you are able to kind of, take care of that during the journey, and now you're happy because you've lost all the weight, but also, you're happy with the way your face looks, then this is obviously the more optimal thing. So there might be some things, like certain fillers or something where we know they're, kind of getting close to their goal, and we might be like, let's wait until you kind of reach your goal, and then maybe we can see where we need to inject certain treatments. But there's definitely treatments that you can be doing meanwhile as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just going to help people feel all around better as they're crossing the finish line of, their weight loss journey, and they're maintaining that weight and, feeling really good about themselves. It's like you want them to feel glowing, you want them to feel good. You don't want them to think, oh no, now it's like whack-a-mole, like I have to fix something else, It's like you've kind of steadily been working on that throughout their journey. And that's what's great about, doing these treatments like semaglutide at a med spa instead of just at home. It's like we have our providers are going to really be able to, hold your hand through it, talk you through it, come up with these game plans, kind of look at your face, look at your body composition all the way through, instead of getting through this journey and then saying, oh my gosh, now what?
Yeah, it's definitely important to do it under supervision. And we've seen that a couple times where people came in and they're like they've lost the weight, but they are kind of a little disappointed because even though it was such a great accomplishment to lose like the 30 or 40 pounds that they're trying to lose, but they've also noticed that their face changed in a way that they don't like, and now they're kind of focusing on that. They're disappointed because, like you said, it kind of takes away from that win. So that's why it's important, especially if you're someone who really care about the appearance of your face, and you always you've always taken care of it. You've always kind of like did what you can to maintain it. You don't want to like ignore it or not be aware of the effects that it can have. Again, not a reason not to do the medication, but if you are aware and you can kind of be proactive, it can definitely kind of add to that win, to that accomplishment at the end, as you've mentioned. And you definitely want to do it under supervision. You want to make sure you're exercising, you're eating the right diet. So, generally speaking, if you're doing things the right way, the better you're gonna feel toward the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining. Hopefully, you guys found that helpful. Make sure you like, subscribe, and let us know any other topics you want us to talk about. And we'll see you next time.